All right, I'm here with
Erickson.
All right, and then the talk that Keith did before, and I said, oh, and here he comes in, was actually Aaron. So we'll get the flip side maybe of what Keith was talking about with F sharp and C sharp. So your talk was called what?
Why F sharp is better than C sharp.
Okay, and what about VB?
VB? What's that?
That language that millions of people use in
Dead
the
to me. Dead to me.
Dead to
Okay.
you. Oh, okay, all right, cool, all right. So anyway, what?
You're here.
You're here. Well, honestly, I think we were talking about this at lunch. Is most people that program in .NET, they're not developing in VB by choice. There's very few people I've met that actually love and embrace and really want to champion VB anymore. I just don't see it. It's not because I personally like it or hate it. It's just you don't see it, and it's really become down to C sharp, and then in the functional world you got F sharp. Right? So. We'll leave VB off to the side right now. But you're saying F sharp's greater than C sharp. So why?
So the problem with C sharp is it's too good. It's too close to functional. In the Java world, Java is so bad that you have to do anything decently functional, you have to use Scala or Clojure or something like that. C sharp does a great job at implementing a few functional features. So we got link, we got anonymous types, and a few other things that make life a little bit better. And the problem is there's been this great equivalence between the fact that it does a little bit of functional stuff and the idea of doing it properly, like F sharp does. So what F sharp does is it helps kind of fall into the pit of success. So everything is immutable by default, versus where in C sharp you have to do a ton of work to make stuff immutable. Just in general, the amount of work you have to do in C sharp to almost kind of simulate what you get in F sharp is pretty substantial. And so it kind of begs the question, well, why not do F sharp, right? And the reasons usually given are, well, it's hard, where do we find the programmers, how are we going to, be able to move to this new thing? And the reality is we learn new hard things in software all the time. In fact, we learned a lot of things in the last 5 years. You think of all the database APIs you learn, you think about all the new presentation technologies we have to learn every 2 years. We went from WinForms to WPF to Silverlight and now to Metro, all in the time that F sharp has been around. And those things all have significantly higher learning curves than do a new language. So why not try a new language that has such significant benefits? In C sharp, to make something immutable, you actually have to have a read-only property. You have to have a private setter and probably about 4 or 5 lines of code, where in F sharp you just get that for free. Okay, it's important that the defaults are there the right way. In addition to that, you have just the idea that you don't have null by default. Null is a source of probably, I don't know, between 25 and 50% of bugs that you have in software today. Well, why not get rid of all those if you have a language where if you use it in the way it tends to be used idiomatically, you don't ever have null. You don't ever have null. You get rid of whole classes of bugs. You write much more resistant, much more resilient software. So, if we just move to F sharp, there's a lot of just great things that you get that you have to really work hard in C sharp or any other kind of imperative language, VB or anything else, that's not kind of functional by default.
Now the other side of the coin, though, and even Don Simon said this, is C sharp is a lot of things to many people, whereas F sharp has become very focused on a couple of things, essentially. I mean, that's being generalistic, but essentially that's where they're viewing it too, and saying that F sharp is really, really, really good at doing a lot of data processing, a lot of parallel transformations and stuff like that. So to go back to your statement that, let's just move to F sharp, how would you do WPF with F sharp? I mean, and I don't mean that as a specific question, but that leads to, well, should you do everything in F sharp? I mean, is there a place though where it should fit and then just let it germinate and grow and do all the wonderful things it should do there?
So there's kind of a radical thing that says do everything in F sharp. Even try to do MVVM type modeling in F sharp, where the APIs aren't really built for that. So for example, if you're going to build a view model and you're going to have properties that can write to that, you end up doing lots of mutable variables, and that's really probably better for C sharp, to be quite honest with you. My point of view is you go from the controller back in, say, an MVC, in an ASP.NET MVC app, all the way from the controller back is probably better in F sharp than it would be in C sharp. In none of those cases, from the controller back, do you really ever need to have stateful variables. If you don't need that, and you can model all that stuff better in a functional language that has fewer side effects, why not do that?
So the last question, speaking of F# and where it's heading, again, referencing Don Simon, is with 3.0, and the feature they keep touting is type providers. So what is a type provider? I mean, because it seems like it's this really awesome, cool thing that they keep showing, but even I'm still looking at it going, I don't quite get what it's doing. So what is a type provider in F#?
Type providers are the nectar that if you drink it, it will make you young and make you live forever. Well, no, not really. Type providers are this really...
You can drink code, okay.
Yes, exactly. But type providers are actually really great because they give you this capability to reach into data and be able to kind of program against data or other kinds of traditionally more unstructured kinds of things. So theoretically, I mean, the type providers that are around now, you can program against databases. You can actually get IntelliSense against bits of data, like a database schema, for example. Going forward, people will write type providers for things like XML, REST endpoints, just about anything that would be traditionally unstructured without having to do a bunch of kind of manual lookup of a lot of things. So just that idea that at compile time we can understand a lot more of our outside world is going to really change the way we write code, I think. And the fact that it's appearing first in F# is, I think, interesting.
So do you know offhand if the mechanism underneath type providers is to generate, does it generate a lot of types on the fly at runtime, or how does that actually do what it's doing?
Not at runtime. So even at compile time is so literally and I'm not an expert in how you write type providers. I haven't written one. I'm looking into how you write them. But at compile time, it reaches into the source of data that you're looking to. So you write a type provider assuming somebody's using this at design time or compile time or whatever. And then it kind of creates a list of elements or what the functions are at that time.
Okay, that makes more sense. All right, cool. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.